Turn off your lights. Make sure your doors and windows are locked. Things are about to get spooky. Scavenger's Introductory by YesOWhat38. Welcome to Point Indy, the only permanent settlement within 10 miles of the outskirts of Indianapolis. After checking in with the Border Patrol at the wall, you should have received a map of the region and of the city of Indianapolis. The list of guidelines is complementary to these items and is important for survival if you plan to salvage the city ruins. 1. Make sure essentials are packed. 1. A flashlight, salt, a watch, non-perishable goods lasting around a week, gas mask, a lighter, extra batteries, and a candle that is neither black nor red. These can be bought or rented at the Indy Trades Co. 2. Be alert. Indy is a hostile place uninhabited for almost a decade now. Floors and woodworks are rotting and easy to give in. Buildings are prone to collapse or become shelters to animals. Sewers in underground area have poor or no ventilation, resulting in dead air. 3. Watch for warning signs. Creatures often leave signs on accident. These often include corpses of humans or animals with no evidence of predator, abnormally clean areas of ruin, abnormal perception of time, abstractions of reality, and people claiming they're from a nearby settlement that's not there. 3A. If a warning sign is detected, light your candle first, then turn off your electric lighting. If you're inside, move calmly and slowly unless you're being pursued, C3B. Move to a more secured area, a windowless room, alleyway, or wooden area. Once there, surround yourself with salt and keep the candle inside. Do not leave the circle until no warning signs have shown themselves for at least an hour on your watch. Do not trust your internal clock. 3B. If you're being pursued, feel free to run or flee. Make sure to throw salt behind you as you run, and do not stop running until the warning signs stop. Then proceed with instructions listed in 3A. Wait for 2 hours instead of 1, and do not spend the night over at the city. If this occurs during the night or evening, stay in your circle and stay awake until the next day. 4. If you're staying the night, which is not recommended by any means, seek an enclosed shelter with 2 options of escape. Surround yourself, bed, or wherever you're sleeping with salt. Do not light the candle while sleeping for obvious reasons. You should stay in your shelter until daybreak, unless you are pursued, in which case follow 3B in your shelter, and return the room to its original state before leaving. Good luck!
We don't know how long we've been trapped here, and only one of us brought our phone.
The man and woman over the phone screamed almost simultaneously. It must have been a while, because in the 15 minutes it took for the rescue team to get into the hotel, we found the emaciated woman gnawing the limbs off the freshly killed man. I Loved Cut Your Hair by YeetmanXD69. My hair was beyond unruly. It was damn near sporting a mullet, so I decided a haircut was long overdue, especially since it was mid-July. I was sweating my ass off with my hair being this long. When my day off at the shop rolled around, I decided it was a good time to look for a cheap cut. I drove past several high-end haircut places, but due to insignificant funds, I didn't really feel like paying the price. In the long run, I wish I had. Since I didn't have anything else to do, I drove around for quite some time. I stopped for lunch at a gas station. Yeah, I'm that cheap. Eventually, I stumbled across a sign. Haircut, $1.50. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds like a terrible idea, and I agree. However, I've never been one who cares about personal appearance and upkeep. So the prospect of a haircut this cheap greatly appealed to me. I wasn't scared of someone giving me a really horrible hairstyle, as evident by my awfully long, greasy hair I currently sported. The only detail that mattered was the frugality of it. I wish I had known just how bad it would be. Then maybe I would have paid the extra bucks for a decent hairstyle. You get what you pay for, after all. I pulled into the parking lot that was littered with potholes, just like everywhere else in the city, my car bouncing around. I shut off the engine and strolled inside. There was a white front desk with a woman standing behind it. Silky blonde hair sprouting out of her porcelain skin. I'd estimate she was in her mid-40s. She stared at me, her green eyes bloodshot. I already felt kind of sketchy. "Hey, I saw the sign outside for a $1.50 haircut," I said. "I love to cut your hair," she said, breathing heavy, her eyes unblinking. Something about the way she said that threw me off. I gulped and nervously backtracked. Actually, that's okay. I just realized I'm late for..." My words trailed off as she leaped over the counter with brutal force. Before I could react, I was pinned to the floor, a rag soon covering my face. When I came to, I felt a scalding hot pain on my scalp. My hair was being washed, but the water was nearly boiling. I tried to scream in agony, but my face was covered. I tried to wrestle myself free, but I was tied to the chair. Tears filled my eyes as the water burned my scalp. At long last, she had finished and grabbed a towel, yanking my head about, violently drying it. She then pushed a button, and I heard some mechanical whirling as my seat began to unrecline. I stared helplessly in the mirror at my bound body, terrified of what was to come next. I kept waiting for a giant set of clippers or something to be revealed, but nothing. It was far worse. It happened so quick I could hardly react, not that I'd been able to stop it anyways, but before I knew it, I could feel her warm, putrid breath on my neck. I looked up into the mirror and she leaned down and took a huge bite out of my hair, ripping it from my scalp. This continued. I was in agony as she tore the hair from my head with her teeth. And worst of all, she was eating it. I saw her munching down like it was a 5-star meal. I wanted to vomit, though I feared she may eat that too. She chomped and yanked until there was no hair on my bleeding scalp. I blacked out. When I woke up, I was laying on the concrete right in front of that store. I clumsily got up and sprinted to my car without turning back. Disobeying all traffic laws, I headed to the police station. I haphazardly parked my car and dashed inside, flinging the door open. Panting, I got a couple of stares from the officers inside. I looked horrible with my bleeding scalp. "You've got to help me. I tried to get my hair cut. The sign said a haircut for $1.50. "Sorry, that's out of our jurisdiction. We can't help you," an officer chimed. What? Out of your jurisdiction? I'm not even that far. I'm within the city limits. "Sir, you need to calm down." "Are you serious? I was just attacked and you're telling me there's nothing you can do about it?" "Afraid not. We're going to have to ask you to leave," he said with a glare. I hightailed it out of there. Clearly, something was going on here. Were those cops somehow on the lady's payroll? It didn't make any sense. What the hell was going on? I drove home in silence. Normally, I blast music at unreasonable volumes out of my nearly blown-out speakers, but I was in no mood. When I arrived home, I made a decision. Fine, If the cops wouldn't help me, I'd have to take matters into my own hands. I rummaged through my drawer in my nightstand and fished out my pistol. To be perfectly honest, I didn't really have a plan. I just knew that I had to do something. My head still ached in pain. I got in my car and raced back to that awful place. The sign parading the cheap haircuts waved in the breeze as if torturing me when I whipped into the parking lot. I grabbed the pistol out of the passenger's seat and put it in my jacket pocket, then stepped out of the car. The sun had set now. The lights were still on the place. The fluorescent hummed as I carefully stepped inside. This time, she wasn't behind the counter. No one was. I crept around like a soldier, waving my gun around, carefully walking past the empty chairs. I spotted a curtain, no light coming from inside. I made my way over there. The gun in my hand shook as my body recoiled in fear. I held my breath and yanked back the curtain. In the shadows, I was greeted by something unexpected. A figure stood there, completely covered in long hair, brown just like mine. It was as if it was wearing a suit made of hair. In a blink of an eye, it charged towards me. Without hesitating, I fired my pistol, 4 shots. It crumpled to the floor below me, pink goo oozing out of the gunshot wounds. I decided I better get out of there fast, and if those cops were really in on whatever this was, they surely would be after me soon. More pink goo oozed from the creature. Normally, I like the color pink, but this was really a gross color, almost flesh-like. I could see some movement as I turned around, once again sprinting to my car. As I got to the door, I heard a thump. I didn't turn around, just kept going. By the time I got home, I was incredibly paranoid. I kept expecting that thing or the cops to find me. I don't know which was worse. I decided to lay low for a week while I plotted my next move. That plan was absolutely cut short 5 days later. As I pondered what to do, I peered out the window. Staring at me far across the street was me? Someone or something that resembled me down to the last detail stood on the sidewalk across the road and just stared at me. Oh God, was I going to be replaced? No way I could allow that to happen. I popped open my closet and grabbed some ammo, sprinting out the front door with my pistol in hand. I ran towards my look-alike, only he was already gone. Yet again, I hopped into my worn-out car and sped towards the cursed store. As soon as I started my engine, red and blue lights flashed at the end of my cove. I floored it, not looking back, the cops following closely behind. I was not going to let them replace me. As I whipped corners, driving one-handed, trying to duck the cops, I noticed something in my rearview mirror. Sitting in the back of one of the cop cars was my clone, just staring in front of him. What was their plan? Why were they trying to replace me? I pondered this as the cops gained on me, one on each side, they continuously ramming into the side of my vehicle, trying to run me off the road. I didn't let up, however, but they noticed. I saw 2 of them pull out pistols. I ducked and slammed on my brakes. Several shots went off ahead of me. The cop cars swerved out of control. I whipped the steering wheel around and turned the corner down the side of the street so fast I nearly tipped my car over. I continued this pace all the way to the hair salon, if you can even call it that. I slammed my door and hurried towards the salon door. This time the lights were off. I yanked the handle, but the door wouldn't budge. A few seconds later, the lights kicked on. I heard the lock in the door click. It swing open as I pulled with all my might. That couldn't be good. Rounding the corner towards the desk was a woman once again. "I love to cut your hair." "Is that the only thing you know how to say? You'll pay for this," I said, waving my pistol towards her. She didn't budge. Bang. I fired off a shot. I hit her square in the forehead, blood seeping from the wound. She crumpled to the floor in an instant, pink goo spurting out from underneath the desk like a geyser. Before I could even react, however, I heard movement behind me. I felt a throbbing pain on the back of my head as I turned around. I was met with the two cops wearing bloody clothes and scowls on their faces. The one held a police baton in his hand. Without time to think, he hit me again. The two men grabbed me and yanked me into the car, cuffing my hands together. Where was my clone, I wondered. They didn't bother blindfolding me, which I assume was a bad sign. After just 5 minutes of driving, we arrived at an old warehouse, of course. The battered cops jolted me out of the car angrily and pushed me inside the metal doors, slamming it shut behind us. Inside, I spotted several cages, mostly empty except for one. It had a woman inside. Her scalp was like mine, torn and bloodied, though the blood had dried. Little strands of hair attempted to grow out of this barren scalp. She looked up at me, and I met her gaze. I recognized that face, though dirtier with blood, dirt, and sweat. The barber shop. It was the same lady. Oh, God. They stuffed me into that cage faster than I could comprehend, though I tried to protest. Once that steel door slammed, I turned towards the lady in the cage. Why are we here? So they can feed, she said. How long have you been here? What's your name? I don't know. I lost count, but several weeks by this point. And my name's Jessica. Frank, I said. Jesus, I killed one, I think. Those things, it looked just like you. I shot in the head and it turned into some kind of slime or something. Somewhere out there is one that looks just like me. You didn't kill it. What? That's what I thought too. I thought I had killed one, but it put itself back together. I stared. There's gotta be some way. So you're telling me that the one I killed is still out there? Yes. We just gotta find a way to kill them then. Maybe if we completely destroy that pink stuff before it gets put back together, or maybe they're vulnerable while feeding. That sounds great and all, but how are we going to do that from inside these cages? We're trapped in here. I'm working on it. She sulked. I don't think she was convinced by my escape plan or lack thereof. Truthfully, I don't know how we were going to get out of here. How did they get you anyways? I said. My best friend. So, shouldn't she be in here now? Where is she? I mean, the real her. Yeah, she was here, but they moved her. I don't know why, but she used to be in the cage you're in now. My mind began to think of the worst possible scenarios. Surely if they removed her, it meant they didn't need her anymore. They probably disposed of her. I tried to keep my composure. I didn't want the lady to give up hope. I'm sure she still held on to the idea that her friend was still alive somewhere. We'll find her, don't worry, I said, though I did worry. It's fine, you don't have to pretend. She's probably long gone by now. I didn't know what to say, so I changed the subject. None of this makes any sense. I just don't understand these things. Why do they need to keep feeding on us? I've had a lot of time to think about this. I think at first they need the hair to create, well, the clones, to reproduce, I guess. Then after that, it seems like they need the hair to live, because I've only seen one clone for each person. They haven't made more clones of me, and I've been here for a while. So maybe if we deprive them of our hair, then they'll die? No, I doubt it. Can't they just find someone else to feed on? And that's what I think happened to my friend. She must not have been useful for them anymore. Good point. I pondered what to do. It really seemed that we were all out of options. But what about those cops? I don't understand their role in this. They bleed like real people, so why are they helping these hair-eating freaks? That I don't know. I believe it goes deeper than we think. And if that's the case, we are truly fucked. Do they feed us in here? Yeah, once a day. A bowl of scrambled eggs and a glass of carrot juice. What the fuck? I assume it has something to do with hair growth, she shrugged. So, what's your plan, genius? Hey, watch the attitude. She didn't respond. Sorry, I'm sure you're beyond irritated being stuck in here. I wish I knew what to do, she nodded. Wait, I've seen it in movies. We can escape our handcuffs by breaking our fingers. She didn't look amused. And how are we going to break our fingers? Okay, maybe not. I scanned the room, looking for something, anything to help us escape. The room was dimly lit, so it was difficult to see. All of a sudden, I heard the screeching of that metal door. Light poured into the warehouse. In that light, I caught a glimpse of something way in the back. There was another person in here. An old man. He was caged too. He looked to be in his 80s. His frail body clearly was on the decline. I reckon he had little time left on this earth. I quickly shot my head back forward when I heard the metal locks click. The woman next to me, her cage was being opened by those cops. Wait, no, what are you doing? She screamed, and I stared in horror as I dragged her away. She kicked and screamed. Wait, take me instead. She's fine. She has lots of hair left. It was to no avail. The metal door slammed once again, enveloped me in darkness. I felt hopeless and afraid. What was I to do now? How would I help her? But then I remembered my newfound discovery in the midst of all this chaos. The warehouse wasn't as empty as I had thought. There was another in here, trapped with me. As my daughter and I began driving down the empty, dark road, I told her that we'd play a game where she could close her eyes and count every bump in the road that our car went over. 45, 46, 47, she counted gleefully. I sighed deeply as I saw the hundreds of lifeless bodies that still littered the road ahead of us. And with that, our time together is coming to an end. First of all, if you have a story you'd like me to narrate, whether true or fictional, you can send it to me 3 different ways, either through my website, email, or subreddit. The links are down below for easy access. Second of all, I'd like to thank the writers who let me read their stories this evening. I really enjoyed the idea of an abandoned city that you have to be careful when you explore, because something might attack you and make you hide in a circle of salt. I really loved the rules that went with it. Then a woman who just wants to cut your hair, to eat it, and then make clones of you, and who knows what happens with the real people afterwards. Thank you both for letting me narrate your stories. If you enjoyed these stories, hit that like button and make sure it feels it. If you're new, please subscribe and turn that pretty little bell to all notifications. And of course, leave me a comment. Tell me what you liked and what kind of stories you like in the future. If you're listening on the podcast and are not able to, please leave a review. And of course, if you're on Spotify, you also leave a comment as well. If you'd like to help this channel and podcast grow, please share it with anyone who might enjoy it. It helps quite a bit, guys. If you'd like to help in a more financial way, like these lovely people on screen right now, I do have PayPal and memberships, where for $1 a month you get early access. And if you'd like to do a more one-time thing, I do have PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, and Super Thanks. As always, none of this will ever be expected, just always appreciated. I truly enjoy narrating these stories for you guys. Sleep tight and don't let 42 bite.